Pokemon Go is a completely different game from what it was 10 years ago when it released. In 2016, all you had were Pokeballs, one kind of incubator, and wild spawns and gyms. But now it's a whole new world. So allow me to freshen you up with 50 of the best tips for new or returning players to Pokemon Go. Tip 1 is obvious: catch everything you see. This is for a couple of reasons. One, you get XP and Stardust for catching Pokemon, which is extremely helpful for leveling up, and Stardust is great for powering up other Pokemon. It's one of the most useful resources in the entire game. But also, the meta is consistently changing for Pokemon Go, and new Pokemon are released or new mega forms, which makes candy that you would typically throw away actually kind of valuable. And you only get candy by catching a bunch of Pokemon, so it's better to stack up on candy and Stardust and XP as much as you can. Tip 2, spin every gym and Pokestop. Not only do you get useful items like Pokeballs and Revives and Potions, but you also get XP for spinning Pokestops and even more XP for spinning new Pokestops. Plus, Field Research, which is one of the greatest free-to-play features in the entire game, is only accessible by spinning Pokestops to get the research tasks. Tip 3, strategically use Lucky Eggs. Back in 2016, the best way to use Lucky Eggs was when you wanted to sit down and mass evolve a bunch of Pokemon, because that was the best way to gain XP. Now in 2026, 10 years later, the best way to use Lucky Eggs is really when two things are happening. Either one, you're doing a bunch of raids as a part of a big raid event that has boosted XP for completing raids, or two, you lined up a lot of people on your friends list to go to the next friendship level all at the same time. So you can drop a lucky egg, open up a bunch of gifts, get a bunch of friendship level ups, and get a ton of XP. Number 4, save your Stardust. Stardust continues to be one of the most useful things in Pokemon Go, especially when it comes to powering up Pokemon and trading. You do not want to dump it into random things for random reasons. Tip 5, complete your daily research. Every day you're given one free, easy to complete daily research task. Although the rewards from it aren't great, it's like maybe some Pokeballs, it does allow you to get your daily stamp, which then gets to your field research encounter, which gives you a bunch of much better things. Let's talk about IVs. Tip 6, check IVs before powering up. Back in 2016, IVs didn't exist, so you just powered up Pokemon that you thought were cool or Pokemon that looked good or were evolved. Nowadays though, we have IVs, you can check them in-game, and you really want to power up only the good IV Pokemon, unless there's some sort of edge case. Tip 7, understand what IVs mean. There are 3 different IVs when you check a Pokemon. It's HP, its attack, and its defense. Each bar is scored from 0 to 15, and if all 3 bars are filled out and red, it means you have a 15, 15, 15 IV Pokemon, aka a 100%. And IVs do make a big difference on how hard your Pokemon can hit, how hard it could get hit, and how high you can power it up. Number 8, do not delete high IV Pokemon. If you find yourself a 100% IV, even if it's of a technically useful Pokemon, you should always keep it. And if you're a new or returning player, Pokemon with like 96, 98 IVs are also great to keep, especially if they're meta relevant. Tip 9, use tags. Tagging is like one of the greatest, simplest features in Pokemon Go. It just allows you to organize your Pokemon a lot better. I use tags all the time. For example, I have a tag called Mega, where I tag all the Pokemon that I need to Mega Evolve daily in order to get them to max level Mega. It makes it really easy to find these Pokemon, to interact with them every single day, and then to move on. Tip 10, favoriting Pokemon. The craziest thing I see is somebody who has a 100% IV or a really, really cool, good Pokemon that isn't favorited. Just know that when you favorite a Pokemon, it prevents you from transferring it. You cannot transfer a favored Pokemon accidentally or purposefully. So always star or favorite your good Pokemon. Let's talk inventory management. Tip 11, upgrade your Pokemon and bag storage early. Now, this does cost money to do, and nobody wants to spend more than they need to, but Pokemon storage and bag storage are great investments if you're seriously considering playing Pokemon Go. Mainly because you're going to fill them up quickly, and it's going to be extremely annoying to constantly have to transfer items every single time you want to spin a Pokestop or catch a Pokemon. And if you play a lot, you're going to expand all the great Pokemon that you have and all the shinies, and you want to make room for all of that. And plus, you're going to want to carry kind of a lot of Pokeball and Great Balls, especially for major events, so you're going to want a bigger item bag. Tip 12, delete excess potions and revives. There's 2 different kinds of revives and 4 different kinds of potions in Pokemon Go. You really only need the best ones. So either keep a lot of max revives and a couple of normal revives, or a bunch of normal revives. And when it comes to potions, you kind of only need hyper potions. Everything else you can delete. Tip 13, save golden raspberries. These are more rare item drops, and you typically only get them from doing things like legendary raids, which are hard to do and sometimes cost money. So it's best to save all of your golden raspberries and use them specifically on legendary Pokemon encounters where they become most useful. Tip 14, use pineapple berries. Pineapple berries double the amount of candy that you get from catching a Pokemon, so using them on rare spawns like Dratini, Larvitar, or anything you don't see much of is a really good use. And you get more candies for catching evolved Pokemon, so if you use a pineapple berry while catching an evolved Pokemon, you're gonna get a lot of candy. 15, keep a handful of evolution items. Evolution items are extremely rare in Pokemon Go. You can get some of them by spinning Pokestops or by opening your field research breakthrough box, and you never really know when you're gonna need them, so it's always best to just keep a couple in your back pocket. Let's talk raids and gyms. Always use your free daily raid pass. It is a blessing that we are bestowed by Pokemon Go that we get a free raid pass. Raids are the best but most expensive things to do in Pokemon Go. So the fact that you get one free raid pass per day is great, but you do have to use it in person. Tip 17, join local communities. Raids are hard, and especially the big raids like Gigantamax raids. So in order to take them down efficiently, it's best to join a local community and go out and raid with other people. Plus, it's more fun with the community. Learn type effectiveness. The way that combat works in Pokemon Go is through typings. For example, water type is super effective against fire type. So if you're going up against a Charizard, you're going to want to use water type Pokemon or rock type Pokemon technically against it. So having a general understanding of type effectiveness will help you, especially when raiding or battling Team Rocket, and you can always keep like a favorited screenshot on your camera roll that explains type effectiveness, which is what I did in the early years. Don't waste rare candy. Rare candy is an item that allows you to turn it into any candy you want. So if you have one rare candy and you want to make more Mewtwo candy, you can use that rare candy on Mewtwo and you have another Mewtwo candy. So rare candy is really, really great, really helpful, but it's very rare and hard to come by. So typically using a rare candy only on legendary or very hard to find Pokemon is best. Take over gyms before raiding. If your team controls the gym that a raid is at, you're gonna get a small Premier Ball bonus. You'll get like 1 to 2 more Premier Balls in the catch screen, which could help a lot with legendaries. If you're new to Pokemon Go or haven't played in a while, Dynamax Pokemon are going to be brand new to you. So let's talk a little bit about that. Save your Max Particles. Max Particles is basically the currency for the Dynamax system. You use them to enter and to battle Dynamax raids, and you also use them to level up the max moves on specific Pokemon. Max Particles are kind of hard to get. You can get a certain amount for free every single day by visiting a Dynamax power spot or by walking, but you can only hold a certain amount per day. So if you hit your Max Particle limit, you might as well spend some of it on leveling up max moves. But don't waste it. It's hard to come by and quite expensive if you have to buy more of it, which you can in the shop using Max Particle Packs. Practice dodging. Dodging in the Dynamax and Gigantamax raids can be a little confusing. Basically, when you're in the raid and you see 3 little lines above your character's head, it means the Dynamax or Gigantamax target Pokemon has targeted your Pokemon. So when you see those 3 lines, you're going to want to dodge kind of the entire time until it uses its move, and it will say dodged in the attack feed, and you'll know you will have dodged the big move. Don't power up weak Pokemon. This is obvious, but it's even more important for the Dynamax system because having good Dynamax Pokemon isn't just a Pokemon with high CP. Great Dynamax Pokemon have high CP, which requires Stardust and Candy, and they have high-leveled Dynamax moves, which are completely different from the Pokemon's normal moves. And to level up Dynamax moves, it requires Max Particles and more candy for that Pokemon. So you really don't want to waste your candies, Max Particles, and Stardust on bad Pokemon. So understand what is good and what is bad, do a little bit of research, and make sure that you do that before powering up a Pokemon. Tip 24, you can only use Dynamax Pokemon in Dynamax raids. This is a bit of an interesting system, but with Dynamax and Gigantamax raids, you can only use Dynamax or Gigantamax Pokemon inside of them. Now, every Pokemon can be a Dynamax Pokemon, but it has to be released in Pokemon Go first. So you cannot take the Pokemon that you catch from legendary raids and use them in Dynamax raids. Unfortunately, you do have to catch pretty much completely brand new Pokemon in Dynamax raids to then use in more Dynamax raids. You might be wondering, well, how do you get your first one then? You get a special research typically, or some sort of timed research that will give you a Dynamax Pokemon spawn that you can use to go into your first raids. Final tip, build out at least 1 strong Dynamax or Gigantamax Pokemon per typing. There's not that many Pokemon that have been released as Dynamax or Gigantamax, so having your bases covered generally just helps. There's going to be way more releases, especially in 2026 and probably 2027 for this feature, because it makes the company who owns Pokemon Go a lot of money, so we'll probably see it a lot more. So make sure that you have a wide range of counters to use in these raids, because they can be difficult. Now let's talk about something I know nothing about: PvP and the Go Battle League. Tip 26, do yourself a favor, start in Great League. Great League is great because you only can use Pokemon that are up to 1500 CP. You cannot go over 1500 in the Great League. So if you're a new player or a returning player and you don't have great Pokemon or very high CP Pokemon, Great League will be where you live. Learn CP limits and IV spreads. IVs work very differently in PvP than they do in PvE, because when you want to take down a raid boss, you want to have 100% IV Pokemon on your team that you're using to take it down. But in PvP, when you're battling in the Great League, you actually don't want your Pokemon to have 100% IVs. It's kind of a complicated system, and we'll have something on screen that explains it, but in each league and for different Pokemon, there's different IV sets that you want. So when you do want to go in and use Pokemon in the Go Battle League, do a quick Google search or ChatGPT search and figure out what the IVs should be for the Pokemon that you want to use in the league that you want to use it in. Tip 28, use tags on your PvP Pokemon. The reason why is this: PvP leagues require specific CPs. So you can't go over 1500 CP in the Great League. You can't go over 2500 CP in the Ultra League. So if you accidentally power up one of your PvP Pokemon above that limit, you can no longer use it in that league, and you cannot unpower up a Pokemon. So it's best to tag Pokemon that you want for specific leagues so that you don't accidentally power them up. Tip 29, play your daily sets. Every single day, you're allowed a handful of sets in PvP. Once you hit your daily limit, you can no longer battle, but PvP is a great way to earn very premium items, rewards, and Stardust. So even if you lose every single battle, like you literally go in with 10 CP Pokemon and AFK, it's better to do that every day and get all of your battles done so that you can still get a bunch of rewards, because you still get rewards even if you lose. And tip 30, PvP is the #1 way to gain Stardust in Pokemon Go. Remember from earlier, Stardust is extremely valuable in this game, and again, PvP is the best way to farm it, so it's worth playing. Let's talk friendship. Add as many friends as possible. Currently in Pokemon Go, I think you can have somewhere around 450, if not more, friends, and the great thing about the friends list is that it unlocks amazing features and bonuses that are absolutely worth doing. So you might as well use online communities, comment sections, Discord communities to add people on your friends list and consistently engage with them, because it is very useful having a lot of friends on your list. Tip 32, XP. The Pokemon Go friends list is currently the best free-to-play strategy for gaining XP. That's because every time you level up your friendship with someone, you get an XP bonus. And if you use a lucky egg, you get 2 times when you level up. There's 4 different tiers of friendship. You get good friends upon first interaction and you get 3000 XP. Great friends takes 7 days of daily interactions and you get 10,000 XP. Ultra friends, 30 days of daily interactions, you get 50,000 XP. And best friends, 90 days of daily interaction and you get 100,000 XP. Of course, with a lucky egg, 200,000. Speaking of, use lucky eggs. The best strategy I'll give you here to get the most amount of XP as possible is to get lucky eggs from free research, and there's like a bunch of free ways in Pokemon Go to get lucky eggs, or by getting free Pokecoins through the gyms, which we'll talk about, and then buying lucky eggs with that. And then what you want to do is you want to level up your friendship with a bunch of people, and on the same day, you want to become best friends with as many people as possible. Drop a lucky egg and then become best friends. And there's a cool new feature basically that allows you to choose if you want to drop a lucky egg or not before you hit the best friends with somebody. So that was new and it's very helpful. 34, trade Pokemon regularly. Trading in Pokemon Go is a great way. It's a very honestly overpowered way to re-roll bad Pokemon and make them good Pokemon. Every time you trade a Pokemon in Pokemon Go, it re-rolls the IVs. So you could have a Pokemon that has terrible IVs, trade it, and it gives your friend a 100% IV. Also, typically, sometimes during specific events, you get extra candy or extra XL candy when trading Pokemon. So it's a great way to farm candy for both rare and not rare Pokemon. Plus, you can get lucky Pokemon from trades, which require significantly less Stardust when powering up. They have a much higher IV floor, which means they have a higher likelihood of being a 100% IV, and they look cool. Tip 35, make a tag for trades. Again, tagging is super useful, and it's great if you save Pokemon that you eventually want to trade, tagging those Pokemon so you know what they're there for. you know not to trade them, and when you go in to trade with somebody, you can search that tag and it pulls up all the Pokemon that you want to trade with. Now we move on to events and special features. Tip 36, always play Community Day. Community Day events happen once per month. They have one featured Pokemon spawning for typically 3 hours. They have a bunch of amazing bonuses. It depends on the day, but 2 times catch XP, 3 times catch Stardust, stuff like that, super helpful. And it is the easiest and best way to get shiny Pokemon in Pokemon Go. During Community Day, you have a 1 in 25 chance of getting a shiny in the wild, which is crazy. So if you want a lot of shinies or you want more candies for a specific Pokemon that is featured as the Community Day Pokemon, go out and play it. And even if you don't like the Pokemon that's spawning, it's still a great way to get more shiny Pokemon, to get high IV Pokemon, exclusive moves that you can evolve to on Community Day, and the bonuses are always great. Use star pieces during Stardust events. There's events that happen all the time in Pokemon Go, like there's an event every Tuesday night Tuesday night. That's called Spotlight Hour, and once a month, one of the Spotlight Hour events will have boosted Stardust when catching Pokemon. Also during Community Day events or big Pokemon Go Fest events, during major events, minor events, there sometimes is a Stardust boost when catching Pokemon. So get star pieces, save them, and use them during these boosted events. Tip 38 is looking at what the Spotlight Hour is. Once again, every week on Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. your local time will be Spotlight Hour, which means for 1 hour, one specific Pokemon will spawn everywhere in the wild and you'll get one specific bonus. The bonuses are like 2 times candy for transferring Pokemon, 2 times evolution XP, stuff like that. Tip 39, routes and party play. Party play is great when you're walking around in person with people. It allows you to essentially complete tasks for extra rewards. Same with the weekly challenge feature, which allows you to remotely team up with other people on your friends list from all around the world and work at one specific goal to unlock a bunch of free resources. That's great. Also in party play, you can share resources, which means I can drop a lucky egg and give double XP to both of us at the same time. And routes are very useful if you're looking specifically for what's called Zygarde cells that you use to level up your Zygarde and evolve your Zygarde, which is very useful in the Masters League in PvP. You only get the Zygarde cells on routes, and they're kind of hard to find. Tip 40, enter showcases. Showcases are kind of a boring feature where you basically just put Pokemon at a Pokestop and they sit, and then the showcase will be over, and then you'll get rewards based on how your Pokemon competed against other people who also put their Pokemon at the showcase. The cool thing with showcases is that there's a great badge if you can get first place a bunch of times. There's also a very, very exclusive, one of the rarest costume Pikachu in Pokemon Go, Professor Pikachu, which you only get by getting, I think it's a gold or platinum medal for your showcase medal, which means you have to win a ton of showcases. I think I've only ever won one. So they're hard, but they also give really, really great rewards, and they're free. All right, let's talk about strategy. Meta strategy, long-term strategy. Tip 41, focus on meta-relevant Pokemon. Now, how do you understand what meta-relevant Pokemon even means? I always talk about what the most meta-relevant Pokemon are on this YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed. And other websites like Pokemon Go Hub's database show you what the best Pokemon are for each typing. So that's very, very useful and very helpful. And it's good to be familiar with which Pokemon are meta-relevant and which ones aren't, so you know which ones to save, which ones to transfer to make space for, and which ones to put your hard-earned Stardust and rare candies into. Tip 42, don't power up everything. As I mentioned previously, Stardust is kind of hard to find in Pokemon Go. Like, it takes a lot to grind up a lot of Stardust, so it's best to just not waste it and put it into Pokemon that are meta-relevant, or just don't spend it. You would much rather have 10 million Stardust than 0, right? Because a new Pokemon might come along, it might be super duper great, you might catch a lot of it and you want to power it up, but if you run out of Stardust, you can't do that. Also, if you want to make special trades for Pokemon that you don't have in your account, like a shiny Pokemon that you don't have, or a shiny costume, or a shiny legendary Pokemon that you don't have, those trades are very, very expensive. If you do not have any friendship built with somebody, that's going to cost 1 million Stardust for that one trade. Granted, if you are best friends with someone, that gets way, way, way cheaper, so that's super nice as well, like why you should level up your friendship with people. But save your Stardust, don't power everything up. Tip 43, Elite TMs. There's these items in Pokemon Go called Elite TMs. TMs basically allow you to change the move of your certain Pokemon, which we didn't have in 2016. So TMs are great because if you get a great Pokemon with bad moves, you can always change those moves to good moves using a TM. But there are certain moves that you cannot get with a normal TM, and you could only get them during like certain windows when your Pokemon are allowed to learn them, typically during like major events, unless you have what's called an Elite TM, which allows you to change your Pokemon's move to any move that has been available in the past or that is currently available for that Pokemon, even moves that are exclusive that you technically can't get right now with a normal TM. So the Elite TMs are great, but they're very rare, and typically you have to pay to get them during Community Day events. So if you do get them, don't waste them. Use them on meta-relevant Pokemon. Track upcoming events. If you log into Pokemon Go and go to your Today tab, you can see what's happening now in Pokemon Go, the current event. Also, you can see what events are upcoming. You can click into it. It shows you the event details. It's a really, really great way to stay up to date with what's going on in-game so you know how to maximize your gameplay. Tip 45, keep one team for each type. This basically means have a good team of Fire-type Pokemon and a good team of Rock-type Pokemon. One team, by the way, is 6 Pokemon, because when you go to raid, you use 6 Pokemon in your party. So have, if you can, at least 6 good powered up Pokemon for each typing so that you're ready for anything. And now mistakes to avoid. Do not transfer legendaries without checking IVs. Once again, legendary Pokemon, some of the rarest in the game and some of the most expensive to get just because you have to spend on raid passes typically to get them. So before you mass transfer legendaries, which you can do if you go in your settings and you turn on, I think it's expanded group transfer, it does allow you to transfer a bunch of Pokemon, including legendaries at once. But if you do that, definitely do it because it's very convenient, but be careful and check your IVs of your legendaries and honestly all of your Pokemon before transferring. And that's the next tip. Don't forget search strings. To illustrate this, I'll show you my search strings. So today, for example, I've caught a bunch of these Pokemon off my Go Plus and off of like incubators and all that kind of stuff. So instead of manually going through and IV checking all of them, I can either go in and search for Star, which shows me all my recent hundos. So I don't have any new hundos except for this Swablu, which I got a couple days ago, which is kind of cool. Or you can get a search string, which I have right here. And I'll let you copy it if you'd like, but it's this. Age 0 and exclamation point shiny and exclamation point video and exclamation point trade and exclamation point 4-star. Basically what this means is age 0, which are the Pokemon I've caught within the last 24 hours. Then I have a bunch of words with an exclamation point before them, which means it's excluding those Pokemon. So when I click this search string, it's going to show me Pokemon that I've caught in the last 24 hours that aren't shiny, that don't have specific tags. So if I tag a Pokemon like this, if I tag it video, it's going to remove it from this search and I won't accidentally mass delete it. I also have things like exclamation point trade. So if there's trade Pokemon that I want, I don't accidentally transfer them. 4-star. So if there's anything that's like 100% IV, I don't accidentally transfer it. And then I have like location and special backgrounds because I don't want to accidentally transfer out background Pokemon too. So I'm going to untag this. I'm going to go here. I'm going to search this string. I'm going to hold. I'm going to click select all and then transfer all of them and get rid of all the garbage. Oh, and I have all this garbage too from the other day, which I'll just delete by hand. Tip 48, be careful with low-level Pokemon. Low-level Pokemon is like 100 CP Mewtwo. And this is kind of like where the balancing act of using Stardust comes in, because you don't want to power up a Pokemon with terrible IVs, but it has high CP. But you kind of also don't want to power up a Pokemon that has decent IVs, but super low CP, because Stardust and candies are hard to come by. And if the Pokemon is 100 CP, it's going to take a lot of Stardust and candies to get it all the way powered up. Whereas if a Pokemon is 3000 CP, it won't take that much more to push it up. You know, so bit of a balancing act. Granted, if you do get a 100% IV Pokemon that is meta relevant, it doesn't really matter how high or low its CP is. You might as well just power it up to max. But I'll be very careful powering up like mid IV decent Pokemon that are very, very low leveled, because it might just be a waste of Stardust and candies in the end. Tip 49, don't miss timed research. Every single month, we get a handful of events that happen in Pokemon Go, and typically for every single event, we get a limited timed research, which basically gives you a handful of tasks that are tied to the event. So if the event has Trubbish spawning in the wild a lot more, the timed research might require you to catch 10 Trubbish. And by doing that, which is free, you get a bunch of great rewards. Sometimes you get exclusive encounters, sometimes exclusive items. The rewards are pretty good, so don't miss those. And the final tip, tip 50, is do not forget to subscribe and watch these other videos here on the Mystic 7 channel. We are the longest standing, biggest Pokemon Go brand. We are everything you need for Pokemon Go, always and forever. Make sure you're subbed. Thanks for watching the video, and welcome to Pokemon Go.